What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. 8/24, baby. Happy Mamba Day. Happy Mamba Day. Kobe Bryant, my favorite player of all time. A hero and inspiration to me. This day is in honor of you. Yesterday was your birthday, 8/23. Happy birthday. If you were still alive with us today, you will be 45 years old. Salute to the man, Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe Bean Bryant. Salute. A player with skill beyond measure. A player with a heart beyond measure. Tenacity beyond measure. Vigor beyond measure. A will to win. A desire to be the best version of himself. A guy with no back down. A man who was scared of nothing. Accepted his failures. Accepted them. Grew from them. Became better from them. A man that wasn't perfect. Had his downs, but always found a way to pick himself up, climb back to the mountaintop. A man that put winning before all else. Despite what people think, those people just don't understand the player that he was. Winning was always number one with Kobe Bryant. His scoring prowess was just a product of how he played naturally. Didn't care how many points he scored. He never looked at the box scores during games to see what he was doing. It wasn't in his DNA. So on to the next play. I'm going to try to demoralize this team, demoralize my opponents, rip their hearts out. That's all he wanted to do. And allude to a victory. 5 championships. It's nothing to sneeze at, nothing to scoff at. A very decorated player. Should have been more decorated, in my opinion. Played both ends of the court at a high level for a good portion of his career. Something players don't do these days. He was cut from a different cloth. Kobe Bryant was the last of a dying breed, an extinct breed for the most part at this point. Kobe Bryant was the last. Patterned his game after Michael Jordan. Sometimes look like a mirror image of him, many times. And a lot of people don't know this. If you didn't watch Kobe, Jordan wasn't even his favorite player. He always thought Jordan was the GOAT. He tailored his game after him, similar body size, skills. But his favorite player of all time was Magic Johnson. Loved Magic Johnson. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. We're going to get into this video. How good was Kobe Bryant actually? I know how good he was actually. Mainstream media, ESPN, FS1, Shannon Sharps, Nick Wrights, Chris Broussards, they don't know how good Kobe Bryant was actually. Or maybe they do. They just don't want to admit it because of their agenda. But it's not about that. Today is about Kobe being Bryant. 8/24, Mamba Day. Let's get into it.
Kobe Bryant put winning over everything. He was an asshole, a hopeless romantic, and an obsessive maniac. But how good was he actually? Early life and road to the NBA. Kobe's dad may have been a millionaire, but this didn't make Kobe's life easy. Like Will Smith, Kobe was born in Philadelphia, and his father, Joe Jellybean Bryant, played for the 76ers. After 8 years in the NBA, Jellybean moved his family to Italy to play basketball abroad. Kobe was just 6 years old, and he didn't speak a lick of Italian. Switching schools every time his father changed teams didn't help. And the cherry on top, he was the only black kid at all of them. This shaped Kobe as a person and a player. Struggling to fit in, he always gravitated towards basketball. He learned to play in isolation for hours. Basketball became his safe space, and where he could prove himself against the kids who didn't accept him. When he wasn't playing, he watched NBA games on VHS and dreamt of becoming an NBA player. When Kobe was 13, Bryant's family returned to Philadelphia. Once again, he was alienated because he didn't know American slang. He would silence those who teased him on the basketball court. Bryant was obsessive about the game from a very early age and worked on his basketball skills tirelessly. As an upperclassman, he He played all 5 positions for Lower Merion High School and averaged 31 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 blocks. Senior year, he led Lower Merion to their first state championship in 53 years and was named Naismith High School Player of the Year and a McDonald's All-American. There was a huge hype about where he'd go to college. Then, Kobe surprised everybody. Bryant organized a press conference and announced that he would skip college and take his talents to the NBA. Kobe was just the 6th player in history to go to the NBA directly from high school, so naturally, NBA executives were reluctant to draft him. But after he destroyed Michael Cooper in practice, Lakers GM Jerry West knew that he was watching the best pre-draft workout he'd ever seen, and that Kobe was the best player in the 1996 draft. West was so determined to draft Kobe that he finessed the Charlotte Hornets into drafting Bryant and trading him to LA for Vlade Divac. Brash youngster. I'm Kobe Bryant, and I'm not going to get punked by anybody. That was the first thing Kobe said at his first training camp practice. He let the other Lakers know he's no ordinary rookie. Even as a skinny young kid, Kobe was fearless from the get-go, relentless in every practice and every game. Kobe entered the 1997 Slam Dunk Contest and won. His teammates lovingly called him Showboat, but it wasn't all good. In his first playoff series, Bryant famously shot 4 air balls in overtime against Utah. By his second season, he was already averaging 15 points per game. He even became the youngest All-Star starter in NBA history, but didn't start on his own team. His most memorable moments from '98 were playing against Black Jesus. MJ was impressed by Kobe on how he would unapologetically ask for advice and wasn't starstruck by Jordan. Kobe went on to finish second in the 6th Man of the Year voting. But come playoffs, the Lakers would repeat history and lose to Utah. In 1999, Kobe finally became a permanent starter and averaged 20 points per game, though this wouldn't stop the Lakers from getting swept in the playoffs. The Lake Show knew something had to change, so they appointed Phil Jackson as the new head coach. Laker Dynasty. In 1998, Shaq and Kobe had their first fight, and O'Neal nearly decapitated Bryant. However, Phil Jackson was called the Zen Master for a reason. He challenged O'Neal to get into the best shape of his life, and Shaq dominated like never before. Kobe was an all-star, averaging 22, 6, and 5, and the Lakers were firing on all cylinders. They went on to win 67 games in the regular season, which was the 5th best result in NBA history. Shaq won the MVP trophy. Kobe was named to the All-NBA second team, and was the youngest player ever to be selected in the All-Defense first team. But once again,
the hell got shooting guard over Kobe back then for first team? I'm gonna have to look that up.
Playoffs were no cakewalk for the Lakers. It was the 4th quarter of Game 7 in the Western Finals, and the Lakers were losing by 15 against Portland. Everyone thought it was the end for the Lakers, until Kobe and Shaq powered one of the best comebacks in NBA history. Bryant was phenomenal in the clutch, with his crossover on Scottie Pippen, and the alley-oop to Shaq clinched the game and the series. But their work wasn't finished. They still had the finals against the Pacers, and in Game 2, it happened. Jalen Rose had deliberately put his feet under Kobe in Game 2 and twisted his ankle. Bryant was forced to miss Game 3, and Indiana comfortably won that game. What the Pacers didn't realize is Kobe is one resilient SOB. He returned in Game 4 with a vengeance. When Shaq got ejected, Kobe put the team on his shoulders and carried them to a win. The Lakers would break the Pacers in 6 games, and Kobe jumped in Shaq's arms to celebrate their first ever title together. However, things never stayed good for long between Shaq and Kobe. After the first title, Shaq was content. So content, he spent his summer eating burgers and drinking pina coladas. Kobe, on the other hand, spent the summer in the gym. So when he had seen Shaq in the preseason out of shape, Kobe lost his mind, and their feud started again. But Shaq's laziness gave Kobe more opportunities to dominate. Bryant averaged a career-high 28.5 points per game, and thankfully, once the playoffs came, Shaq was the athletic beast he was the year before, and the Lakers were unstoppable. They swept all 3 series in the Western Conference. Who would stop them from doing the same in the finals? Well, he was small, but he was a problem. His name was Allen Iverson. AI mercilessly dropped 48 in the Staples Center, stepped over Tyronn Lue, and won Game 1 for the Sixers. But Shaq and Kobe took AI's disrespect personally, and they couldn't let that slide. The Lakers came back and won the next 4 games to clinch their 2nd consecutive title. Their 15-1 playoff run was the best in history, until 2017, when the Warriors went 16-1. In 2002, Kobe led the Lakers in assists, and he averaged 25 per game. Mamba made the first All-NBA team for the first time in his career, plus the first team All-Defense. He also won the All-Star Game MVP, and the Lakers continued to dominate the opposition until they reached the conference finals in the Sacramento Kings. The Kings were the best team throughout the season, and Chris Webber was playing at the MVP level. The Kings took a 3-2 lead in the series, and And to be honest, they would have probably won Game 6 too, had it not been for one of the worst refereeing jobs in NBA history. The refs stole that win for the Lakers, but LA won Game 7 fair and square. In the finals, they quickly dismantled the Nets in 4 games. Shaq was the finals MVP for the 3rd time in a row, and Kobe became the youngest player ever with 3 championships. Fallout with Shaq. After 2002, Kobe was one of the best offensive players in the game. He knew when to shoot and when to pass. The problem was, sometimes he didn't want to pass. Kobe, being one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, always guarded the best opposing guard in the clutch. He understood the game tactically. He had all the moves and counter moves. In 2003, he dropped 55 on Jordan. He averaged over 32 points in the playoffs, but the Spurs were too strong that year. The only thing that Kobe had not fully mastered was emotional intelligence and being a leader. In 2004, his beef with Shaq became unbearable. Both Shaq and Kobe acted childishly, but Kobe did Shaq dirty after discussing Shaq's marriage with the media. Ironic, because he was also going through a court case in Colorado, which proved his own infidelity. Craziest part is at the same time as his trial, Kobe was playing in the playoffs. It takes a cold-blooded individual to be facing a lengthy jail sentence and still go out to perform as well as he did. The Lakers added Karl Malone and Gary Payton, so everybody thought they would be crowned champions again. But Kobe beefed with both Shaq and Malone. The lack of chemistry showed its ugly head when it was most important. Kobe was forcing things in the finals against the Pistons. He took by far the most shots on the team, despite hitting only 38% from the field and 17% for 3, and the Lakers lost in 5 games. Something had to change, so Shaq was traded to Miami, and Kobe had the chance to prove that he could win without it. Individual greatness. Kobe was a maniac. For all the kids out there that want to be like Kobe, here's some advice. Don't do it. Because Kobe was 1 in a billion, he ran himself into the ground to become a perfect basketball player. He was in the gym up to 3 times a day, and he wouldn't leave practice without making 400 shots. But it was because Kobe was such a maniac that he produced some of the greatest memories for basketball fans around the world. In 2005, he scored 62 points against the Mavs in just 3 quarters, and 3 weeks later, he notoriously scored 81 against the Raptors.
Everybody always leaves out. Yeah, he scored 62 in 3 quarters, and the Mavericks scored 61, I believe. He outscored the Dallas Mavericks by himself, and he didn't play the 4th quarter. That, to me, is the best Kobe Bryant game I've ever seen as far as production and scoring, and I really wish he would have. It was such a blowout. It would have been a bad look if he played, but had he played, we would have seen somebody outscore a team by himself.
The second highest scoring game in NBA history. Bryant averaged 35 points per game in 05 and 31 in 06. He was in his athletic prime. Kobe led the league.
I would actually like to say also that that 05-06 season where he averaged whatever 35 points per game, whatever. At one point in that season, he was like somewhere around 38 points per game in the first half of that season, and then Phil Jackson told him to dial it down a bit as we come around the playoff time. As we start working towards the second half of the season, let's see if they're picking up this triangle offense. Because him and Kobe agreed that in the beginning of the season he would have to carry more of an offensive load, but he was like getting close to like 40 points per game. I ain't even joking with you. Dude was lighting it up.
League in scoring, and his highlights of that era are a thing of beauty. But that same year, the Lakers somehow missed the playoffs, and in 06 and 07, they lost to the Suns in the first round. Despite Mamba's heroics and game winners in the clutch, he still wasn't proven as a true team player or leader.
Hold on. See, this is the problem I be having. I'm going to rewind that, make sure I heard him correctly. I'm rewinding. Right.
Later, he notoriously scored 81 against the Raptors, the second highest scoring game in NBA history. Bryant averaged 35 points per game in 05 and 31 in 06. He was in his...
Okay, see. The 35 points per game were in the 05-06 season. Okay. The 31 or whatever was the 06-07 season. Okay.
His athletic prime. Kobe led the league in scoring, and his highlights of that era are a thing of beauty. But that same year, the Lakers somehow missed the playoffs, and in 06...
Okay, see, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about, man. Misinformation. That year, they did not miss the playoffs. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. Now, I admire the video. But this is the revisionist history stuff I'm talking about. And if people didn't know and watch Kobe play, they would just take this guy's word for gospel. The Lakers missed the playoffs. It wasn't the 05-06 season, and it wasn't the 06-07 season. They missed the playoffs in the 04-05 season. That was the first year without Shaq. And the only reason they missed the playoffs is because Kobe Bryant had a season-ending injury sometime in the beginning of the second half of the season. But before Kobe Bryant sat out the rest of the season with the injury, the Lakers were in a playoff spot. They were in playoff contention. And it wasn't until after he went out with the injury did they plummet to the bottom of the conference. It's the stuff, and people think you're just an angry Kobe fan. You're just an angry Kobe fan. You're just mad. No, I stand for the truth. And this is misinformation. Misinformation. But I don't know what I'm talking about. Happy Mamba Day. I'm putting respect on Kobe's name.
06 and 07, they lost to the Suns in the first round. Despite Mamba's heroics and game winners in the clutch, he still wasn't proven as a true team player or leader. Buenos dias, pal. Kobe's selfishness almost got him traded to Detroit during the 2007-2008 season, but that fell through, and instead, the Lakers traded for Pau Gasol, one of the best European...
Kobe's selfishness almost got him traded to Detroit? That is not how that scenario went. The Lakers wanted him there. Kobe Bryant demanded a trade, said he was unhappy in the offseason before going into the 07-08 season. He didn't get traded for selfishness. What are they talking about, man? Boy, I tell you. And you want me to name that roster of those Lakers teams? Those first 2.5 years without Shaq? Before Derek Fisher came back? And Pau Gasol came in and everybody got put in their proper place? Huh? We want to talk about Kwame Brown and Smush Parker and Vladimir Radmanovic? He could shoot, but he couldn't do nothing else than shoot. Chris Mem? Brian Cook? Sasa Vujacic before he could shoot? That was not, man.
Players ever. With the additions of Gasol, Trevor Ariza, and the emergence of Andrew Bynum, the Lakers finally became championship contenders again. LA clinched the #1 seed, and Mamba was named the regular season MVP. They dominated the West and made it to the finals against the Boston Celtics. With Tom Thibodeau, a defensive mastermind, and his revolutionary ice defense, the Celtics would load up defenders on Kobe in the finals, forcing Bryant to get rid of the ball or take tough shots against multiple defenders. Kobe was the best player in the world at the time, but Boston had a better team that season, and the Celtics won in 6 games. After winning the 2008 Olympics with Team USA against Spain, Kobe left the gold medal in front of Pau Gasol's locker to rile him up for the season. He needed Pau to be aggressive. He played similar tricks on other teammates, and was finally learning to be a leader. Kobe took it upon himself to hang out socially and bond with his teammates, to learn what made them tick. He now knew he couldn't win the title by himself. In 2009, Bryant was playing the best and most mature basketball of his life. He led the Lakers to win the championship and earned the Finals MVP award. In 2010, the Lakers made the finals once more and had a chance at revenge against the Celtics. But as usual, there was a problem. Kobe was playing with a bone spur in his ankle.
And we ain't going to talk about all those game-winning shots he hit in the 2009-2010 season? Well, he was just lighting up game winners every other, 5 days. Okay, it's okay. It's your video, bro.
And a broken finger on his shooting hand. As you would imagine, he couldn't shoot the ball well. This series, in particular, was pretty ugly. But things were different than they were years ago. Kobe and the Lakers learned to play like a team and took the series to Game 7. Kobe shot 6 from 24, incapable of putting the game away by himself. But with his Mamba mentality, he'd rather die than lose to the Celtics twice. Bryant had 15 rebounds that game, and he was doing everything possible to win. Then in the last minute, Ron Artest would hit a 3, and the Lakers prevailed. Kobe got his 5th title that night, and when a reporter asked what the title means for him, Kobe truthfully and sarcastically answered, "Just got one more than Shaq." Lakers' downfall, and Kobe's legacy. In 2011 and 2012, Kobe was still his usual self, scoring and trying to win the title at any cost. But the Lakers were once again struggling. So in 2013, they traded for Dwight Howard, and Howard was a terrible fit. It was obvious that Kobe's athleticism was slowly fading. Then, as if things weren't already bad enough, it happened. Kobe snapped his Achilles.
All right, so to be fair, that year they were calling him Vino, and it was actually the opposite. People were expecting Kobe's athleticism to fade, but somehow the dude was still doing miraculous things. He was still dunking on people. Do I need to make a video about the dunks he did late in his career before he tore his Achilles? Dude was defying age. We kept saying we had never seen a player this good this late in his career. That's what people were saying at the time. And yes, Mike D'Antoni was playing him hella minutes, and he got he drove himself into the ground trying to will that team into the playoffs, playing all those minutes and carrying so much of a load. And he was asked to guard the small best point guards on the teams, and he did it. He was asked to be point guard, and he did it. He was asked to do a lot of things that season, and he did it all. At what cost? But it was not clear and evident that his athleticism was on some type of steep decline. The dude was still doing incredible things. Did his defense at times take a hit? Yeah, he couldn't exert enough energy to be the elite defensive player that he was for the long haul. But when the assignment was called, he'd get down there and lock down wherever he needed to lock down in those moments.
The most devastating injury in basketball. Kobe made his 2 free throws and walked himself off the court like a boss. Frustrated, he cried in the locker room, but he was still determined to come back stronger. Thing is, even with the Mamba mentality, after the Achilles came the knee injury. After the knee, it was the shoulder. Kobe was getting older, and in 2016, it was obvious that he couldn't do it anymore. Everything was hurting. That's when Kobe wrote Dear Basketball, his love letter to the sport. It was the best retirement announcement in the history of sports. He opened a door into his beautiful and deep personality, which only a few people knew existed. Kobe had finally let his guard down for the first time in his life. He was no longer an asshole. He was kind. He was jovial. He was giving. The whole NBA gave him a retirement tour and honored his legacy to the game of basketball. Bryant sucked for the majority of that season. I think he dunked the ball maybe once that year. But in the final game of his career, against...
No, he didn't dunk the ball once. 2, he actually had a facial. He dunked on what's that boy name? He was on I think it was the Houston Rockets at the time. He's on the Atlanta Hawks now. What's that kid's name? Yeah, he dunked on Clint Capella. He put a poster on Clint Capella. But I'm pretty damn sure that wasn't the only dunk he had.
Against an opponent who was fighting for a playoff spot, Kobe played one of the best games of his career. This mother effer dropped 60. He literally made every shot in the clutch, with almost no lift in his legs. And just like Jordan inspired him, he became an inspiration to millions of kids around the world who would all yell, Kobe, while throwing their homework in the trash.
Man, I had to call out the misinformation on that video. Now, I appreciate Nonstop YouTube channel for paying homage to Kobe, but I had to stop when there was misinformation. And you notice I didn't stop him when he was saying things that were true that Kobe didn't do so well. See, I keep it 100%. I'm unbiased. When he was sitting here saying how garbage he played in Detroit, I didn't stop it. That was all real information. That was all true. That was the worst I've ever seen Kobe play in a playoff series. And granted, it was against arguably the greatest defensive team of all time, but that's no excuse. He's better than that. I'm honest about these players. I'm honest about my favorite player. I call him out on his bad performances when he didn't do so hot, man. No bias here. There is a lot more context that can be added to that video. Definitely some misinformation in there, and I don't even think that video does code. Like, how good was he really? I don't even think that video really did it complete justice to how good he really was. I mean, to be fair, a 20-year career, it's hard to capture all of that and 10 to 15 minute videos. So I get it. But I definitely thought there was some good context and really important pieces that carry significant weight that could have been mentioned that weren't mentioned. But it is what it is. But he even mentioned the was the broken finger or the lacerated finger. Didn't get surgery or anything. He's like, I'm playing through this. Taped it up. Uh, Figured that if you see his fingers, they mangled fingers. Not as bad as Bird, but mangled fingers. And he just adjusted his stroke. Like that's the other thing people don't realize. Like, oh, he shot 45%. Oh, first of all, like I said, 45% was a good shooting average back in those days. And he was shooting better than most wing players that were his contemporaries. Now, you add that to the fact that this guy continued shooting anywhere between 45 to 50% with a broken finger and adjusting his shot on the fly to compensate for the broken finger and still shooting an admirable percentage. Who's doing that these days? Who can do that these days? Who has the pain tolerance to do that these days and still be on top of your game? That's why I'm like, bro, that's why I see a lot of things now. I'm just not impressed because I know what I've seen from Kobe and even past players before Kobe. I know what I've seen these guys do. And you expect me to be impressed about the guy that pulls his fingernail back and has to sit out 2 months? Come on, man. Come on, man. Man, Kobe with a broken finger was shooting just as good as these guys in this easier era, completely healthy. I don't want to hear that. But shout out to the Bean, Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, rest in power. Big inspiration in my life, a hero. Every time he was in town, I made sure. There's another thing. I got to see him play a good amount of times. Like whenever I had money, I would go watch Kobe play. No matter what state I was living in, no matter what city I was living in, what arena, I got to see a good amount of Kobe. And every time I saw him play, he delivered. I've seen him score 40 points multiple times. I was at his last game of his career. I flew out to LA to watch him play, watch him drop that 60 piece in Staples. I was there for all that. It was amazing. I was there for that. I watched him hit game winners after game winner after game winner in multiple arenas. Watch him hit shots to force overtime. I seen him do everything. And I'm just so thankful that I got to get some of these virtuoso performances. That I was lucky enough to be there. Man, you are missed, Kobe. You are missed. I was totally on board and riding with you in the second part of your life, all about watching you, be a master in your new craft of, storytelling and writing. Got your Oscar, man. I was so happy. Sad how you passed away with all those people. Rest in peace to all of them and your daughter. It's crazy, man. Sometimes I wake up and I still can't believe he's gone. It's just like the dude just seemed invincible, you know. But you know what? He squeezed everything out of his orange uh, to be the best father he could be the best player he could be, and grew as a father, matured as a player. You know, and I love his story because it's not a perfect story, and nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. And I look at him, how he got out of his dark moments and rose. That's what I love about his story so much, man. It's so relatable. It's so relatable. I got my demons. He had his demons. Everybody had their demons, man. As opposed to some picture perfect ass person. You know what I mean? I love it, man. I can relate. I can understand. He's been a role model for me. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you for stopping in. Drop the Kobe Bryant love in the comment section, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. We out, baby.